What if what you're holding on to is slowly killing you? My friend, it's time to blow that up. I'm Sarah Stansberry, coach, author, and recovering codependent. And on this podcast, you'll learn to break free from people pleasing, heal from relationship wounds, and move beyond anxiety and self-doubt. Because sometimes you need to destroy what isn't working to build something beautiful. Welcome to How to Blow Up Your Life. Hello, everybody, and welcome to How to Blow Up Your Life. I am your host, Sarah Stansberry. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about, well, a lot bit, I guess, about a subject that can be a little bit tricky, and that is the subject of forgiveness. I've been thinking a lot about this topic this week. I had a client in a couple of situations that were presented to me, and I realized this person could not get kind of unstuck in their lives. And I finally came to the conclusion that this person needed to forgive and practice forgiveness in order to move on with their lives. And I'll go into the detail about that a little bit later. If you're curious or wondering about forgiveness, if you think that maybe it's come up for you in a few different areas, if you're feeling stuck, if you find that you have a lot of resentment or anger that you're holding on to, it's possible that you might need to practice a little forgiveness or a lot of forgiveness. I think we should begin with just a general definition of what forgiveness is. And in my perspective, from my worldview, forgiveness has more to do with acceptance than it does with restoring relationship. It can restore relationship if you choose, but it has more to do with acceptance than anything else. So let's say that something has been done to you and you are angry, upset, hurt, whatever. It happens. You're not alone. It happens to every single one of us. This is what life is. And it's a series of these events, right? And you have distanced yourself from this person, or maybe you haven't, but every time you see them, you feel terrible, or you have a tremendous amount of anxiety or whatever, negative feelings. Hanging on to that event essentially creates an invisible string, and it kind of ties you to that person or situation. Does that make sense? So the ultimate goal here, when you have conflict in a relationship, is to accept what happened, to come to terms with what really happened, how you were impacted, and then healing the wound, which is your responsibility, and then being able to let go of that event or that person. And so when you hear people say forgiveness frees you and not the other person, that is what they're talking about. Now, why is that important? And this is really important. So if you're taking notes, get your pen out. If there's something that's happened in your life and you cannot let go of it, or you cannot let that person go, it essentially, when you're holding on to it, that thing becomes your master and you become the slave. I'm going to say that again. When you've had an event or some sort of negative experience in your life, and you are holding on to it, meaning, you're mad about it, you're angry about it, you're carrying a lot of resentment toward the person or the people around it. It begins to hold power over you, which means you become a slave to that event or even that person. And that's not what we want, right? We want to feel powerful in our lives. And when you hang on to resentment, anger, hurt and pain, you're essentially giving your power away. And we do not want that. I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to give you an example here. I had a client who came to me, and she was really struggling with being able to kind of get over her ex. And she wasn't really in love with this person necessarily or wanting to have a relationship with him anymore. But yet she still couldn't quite get over him. And so every interaction that we had, anytime we worked together, it was like, well, and when I was in this relationship, this and this and this happened, and it really messed me up, and this really messed me up, and that really messed me up. And what I realized after a while is that she was really holding on to the pain and discomfort or hurt that this person had inflicted upon her. And they were valid things. It's not that, she was making a big deal. They were absolutely valid things. However, what was happening was she was experiencing then, because she was hanging on to this resentment, she was experiencing everything in her world through that lens. And it was skewing the way she thought about everything, or almost everything, I should say. And it was keeping her stuck. And why was it keeping her stuck? It was keeping her stuck because she spent a tremendous amount of focus and energy on the thing that had happened to her, the thing that had happened in her past. And what that did is that kept her from focusing on her future and focusing on the life that she was really wanting to build for herself. Now, we worked together, and this is the way it's always done. So you can, whether you do it on your own or with a therapist or with a coach or whatever, but we worked a little bit together. And I realized like she hadn't really forgiven her ex for the pain essentially that she had experienced through the relationship, essentially. So, what we ended up doing is we went through kind of the process of tracing back where the string kind of was, where it ended up, where it was actually attached, right? Because what ends up happening, you have an event, you experience pain or some sort of suffering from that event. And then you kind of perpetuate that pain over and over again throughout your life. So, kind of, it's a weird thing that we do as humans. We kind of like recreate our past wounds in a really subconscious way of trying to heal that hurt place. And when you're experiencing something, any kind of discomfort or turmoil or in your relationships, it's typically you're responding to a wound essentially from something that happened maybe a long time ago. So we went through some events, right? And kind of tracked back where she had these original feelings of, maybe doubt, self worth issues, abandonment kind of thing. We traced that back and we were able to kind of heal that really hurt place inside of her that she didn't even really understand that she was operating out of, if that makes sense. So the wound was healed. And what ended up happening is it allowed her to release the situation and it allowed her to release her ex. And then she could move forward with her life. What ended up happening is she stopped ruminating about the ex and she no longer had resentment when she thought of him. And because when you harbor resentment, it comes out everywhere. And even if it's just about one thing, it really poisons the well in every aspect of your life. I noticed the client, she was able to have clearer thinking. She could kind of have a clear mind. She found peace and joy. She could figure out what she really wanted out of life. And she came to realize that her ex didn't have anything to do with her future and the happiness that she wanted to experience in her life. Like he wasn't keeping her from that. Her hanging on to the pain and the hurt and the suffering was keeping her from the life that she wanted to live. So don't carry it around with you, friends. That is the message here. Don't carry it around with you. If you feel like you're experiencing resentment, if you're having a lot of anxiety about seeing certain people, if you when you see a person, like if when their name comes up on your phone or you see them in public, it's giving you kind of the that deep breath that sometimes we experience when we're in a little bit of distress, that our body's telling us we might be in distress. It's possible that you might need to practice some forgiveness. Now, one thing I want to mention here is that forgiving does not mean restoration of relationship, if that makes sense. So you can forgive somebody, but it doesn't mean that you have to still be in relationship with them or pick up a relationship with them. It just means that you've accepted what happened, that you've healed the wound, and that you've let it go. That's all forgiveness is. It's a big deal. I don't want to minimize how difficult it can be. So number one, you don't have to restore relationship. Forgiveness does not mean that you pick up where you left off. It can if you want. It's completely up to you. Or you could set new rules and boundaries in that relationship if that's what you need, to feel safe. So that's what we mean when we say forgiveness is for you and not the other person. Oh, one more thing I did want to point out is that you don't have to even interact with the person in order to forgive them, if that makes sense. It's an internal job. It's something that you do inside of yourself, and it really has nothing to do with the other person. It can happen with the other person. And when that happens, when you are able to repair a relationship, because you go to the person, explain that they've hurt you, and that person is interested in deepening that relationship and cares for you deeply and is able to hear you and reflect back that, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that this happened. That wasn't my intention, or like, who knows, maybe it was. It could be anything. And I'm going to do things differently in order for that not to happen again. That's a beautiful repair, an absolute beautiful repair. But not everything goes that way. And so you can have people in your life who won't recognize that they've hurt you. They want to put it back on you and say things like, oh, well, but you did this or you did that, and that's why I did XYZ. Those aren't the people that you probably want to have full restoration of relationship with. Again, up to you. So, number one, when you forgive, it doesn't mean that you have to pick up the relationship again. And number two, you don't have to see the person or be in contact with them in any way in order to forgive them. Because forgiveness is about acceptance of what happened, a healing of the wound, which is what is your responsibility. And it's a letting go so that you can move on with your life and have the beautiful life that you desire. If any of this resonates with you, if you have more questions, if you'd like to explore it further, you can book a call with me if you want, but you can also download. I've got a new free workbook called the Creative Destruction Workbook. And there's a really easy way for you to download it. You can go to the link here in the show notes. You can go to my Substack and sign up for my Substack, which is sarahstansberry-substack.com. Or you can go to my website, sarahstansberry.com, and it's like right on the front page. And I'll put the link in the show notes as well. The Creative Destruction Workbook, it'll kind of like, it's not forgiveness specific necessarily, but it will help you get started and like and threading out the patterns of behavior that are holding you back in life so that you can build the life that you want. And that's what we all want, isn't it? It's what I want, at least. I think that's it. If you have any questions, you also can email me, Sarah@sarahstansberry.com. I'm happy to take your questions. And if I can't answer them, I'm happy to get somebody who can answer them. Anyway, I hope this has helped. I hope that this has spoken to you in some way. Like you're like, I wonder if I need to forgive somebody. That's good. That's your indication that maybe you do. And remember, it is for you, it's not for the other person. And it's a way for you to gain power over your life and freedom over your life. All right. Thanks. Take care. Thank you for listening to How to Blow Up Your Life. If you like this show, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, and it helps more than you know. You can join me on Substack at sarahstansberry.substack.com, where we continue these conversations. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Sarah Stansberry. This podcast is produced by Shout More Quietly Productions. Music by Jay Ferris. All links and information are in the show notes. Now go forward and blow up your life.